What's up, friends? Welcome back. Thank you so much for being here and for committing to your own health and well being. I am excited to get into the act and art of letting go to grow. I will open up and share a little bit about my own experience with this in the sport of rowing and bodybuilding. I'll walk you through that transformation, and then I'll share some practical strategies that can help you on your own journey. Let's go. All right, so I want to start the conversation opening up, sharing a little bit more with you about my experience rowing and bodybuilding. So these two things were experiences, activities that really defined me at one point in time in my life as an athlete. And they're things that I stumbled upon kind of by mistake. I walked onto the team at LaSalle University, rowing team at LaSalle University, and at the time, I was kind of looking for something more, than just, okay, I'm going to school, I'm going to study this. Like I was looking for a community, I was looking for spaces, sense of belonging. And there was also something on top of just being on the water and getting into that state of flow where I felt this really deep sense of peace and kind of really deep connectedness with not only myself, but this unit of other people that were in that same state, kind of moving with you. And so I stuck with the sport over the course of 10 years throughout college. And then after that, I joined a master's program and worked my way up into leadership on the team and really refined my skills. And the pinnacle of my career was a race that I went to in Paris for the gay games, kind of like the gay Olympics. And it took a lot to, at that point, kind of pause to ask myself or start asking myself all sorts of questions like, where do you really want to go with this? In reality, how far can you go with this? And at this point in time, rowing for me had been everything, my world. I would eat, breathe, sleep, row every day. And that's what I would talk about. That's what I would share on social media, share with others. And then getting to this point in my rowing career where I started to just face harsh truths and realities, like, again, realistically, like, how far can you go given where you currently are in your career, and just kind of looking around and doing a really deep assessment. And it kind of felt like that flip switch for me after that race in Paris, and had the realization that I kind of learned everything that I needed to learn in this experience. I had learned so much about discipline, willpower, sheer strength and determination. Like, what does it mean to really be and stay committed to something that you're passionate about? And decided to walk away from that, as painful as it was. And again, something that really defined me. And in the process of walking away from that, I found the sport of bodybuilding, and everything that I had learned from the sport of rowing, the discipline, being able to show up day in, day out, that consistency. I very quickly realized that that's something that would make me, or could make me, successful in the sport of bodybuilding. And I did about 10 shows, regional, local, regional, and national shows. And I was able to take my body to some really interesting places, and, eventually kind of hit a very similar wall that I did in the sport of rowing. And I quickly realized that to be a professional, and I was chasing my pro card. I was chasing that, and very quickly realized that to be a professional, I would have had to have gone down a really dark path with anabolic steroids. And what at the time I had fallen in love with, the process of bodybuilding I thought I was getting from that in what I was searching for in health and well-being. I was Mr. Health and Well-being, and really having to face that hard realization of, is it your long-term health or do you want to be Mr. Health and Well-being? That took me to a really tough place in what we're here to talk about today, which is letting go to grow. Like, is this the right choice that I need to make? Or what is the choice that I need to make in being able to continue moving forward? So the transition out of this phase of my life of being an athlete was tough. I'm not gonna lie. It took a minute to bounce back. I spent a good amount of time kind of thinking through, jostling with, like, who am I without this sense of purpose and identity around being the best and showing up as my best in how I presented my body and stepping on stage in training and dieting for a crazy amount of weeks at a time. Who was I? This was all I spoke about. It was my life. I had neglected other parts of my life just to focus on being and showing up and presenting as this thing. And when I walked away from these things, it took an emotional toll. I took time away from social media. I had all these internal thoughts and conflicts that I was going through, as, for example, like, my body was coming back to this normal state, like really having to lean into accepting my body, accepting myself. And at the same time, on top of that, I was dealing with and struggling with my own sexuality. And during that time, I found spiritual practices. That's really where I started leaning into spirituality and finding a sense of hope and faith in that. I started leaning into different teachings from different spiritual leaders. Some of them I'm happy to link below in the show notes, but Ram Dass was one of the big key figures for me. And I had seen a news headline pop up that a great American spiritual leader had passed, and his name was Ram Dass. And I remember looking at the photo, and it was like, kind of felt like this deeper connection in just looking at that image. And I was like, okay, let me go see what this guy's about. And seriously went through all of his readings, his teachings, and it felt like just the right messages and insights that I needed at that point in time in my life. And as I continued moving through my own emotional process, I eventually got to a place where I felt like I was ready to reemerge into society or reemerge into community in this sense of self. And I started focusing on and giving attention to, for example, like my social well-being, my spiritual well-being. As I'd mentioned, I was going through all of that learning at that time. And very quickly, I started to have this realization that what I was looking for in the sport of bodybuilding, to be specific, I'd learned so much from rowing, but specifically in the sport of bodybuilding and what I was looking for in health and well-being, I very quickly came to realize that actually in the exit and in the letting go, that really was where I found well-being. And although there was this transition point in going through the emotions, going through all the feelings, when I got the time and space to really step back, I realized that to be a well and whole person was just so much more than the physical side of it. And so in the act of letting go and everything that I found as a result of that, I experience what I can only characterize as mystical, this transformation of like a caterpillar blooming into this butterfly that was ready for self-expression from the heart. And that really is kind of what's led me to where I am today, in just having more clarity around like true purpose, or more clarity around like why am I here on planet Earth. And I don't discredit or discount any of those experiences that I've had in the past. I think they were critical in getting me to this point, but again, in the act of letting go, that's where I was able to find answers and then experience transformation. All right, friends, so with that, I want to create some space for us to get real, and I want to ask you, what is it in your own life that you think you're holding on to that no longer serves you? And similar to the experience that I just shared to you, if you don't know, that's totally fine and that's okay. And like I said, like I had that whole period of honestly what I think was not what I think, what was about like a year of just deep introspection and self-reflection, and really taking the time to figure out what I had just gone through in the decisions that I'd made, in how my life was flowing and moving at the time, and what were the learnings coming out on the other end, and realizations coming out of that space and sense of reflection. And then how did I want to move forward? And so again, I'll pause to ask you, like, what are the things that you think you need to let go of that are no longer serving you? And I promise that in doing this kind of reflection, there is transformation on the other end of that. Every experience that we go through that ends up falling short, or that we end up leaving, there's typically something that comes out of the darkness of the leaving that in, whatever that sunshine is that's waiting for you on the other side. So some easy practices, and some of them I'd already mentioned, that you can lean into if you don't know what this thing is, or what these things or activities are that you need to let go of. For self-reflection, first and foremost, it's giving yourself the space. Like if you are deeply involved in a ton of things that are prohibiting you from getting the space and clarity that you need, like really thinking about how you give and provide yourself space. And this could be going on a solo vacation, checking out of social media. Like I'd mentioned, like I had about a 1-year hiatus where I was just like, I can't with like anybody else right now. Like this just has to be about me and my own emotional needs that I need to tend to at this time. Leaning on professionals, so a therapist could be a really good idea, a really good starting place. And I mentioned this in other episodes, but having that neutral third-party perspective that can help you navigate your experience can be extremely helpful. And family, friends, really thinking through like what is your self-love package, and how you take care of yourself, and how you navigate the letting go of whatever it is that you may need to let go of. The gym, for example, taking care of your diet, your nutrition, like what are the things that will give you that sense of agency and control, despite the act of the tower coming down and transitioning, transforming into something else. If there's anything I've learned, or that I'm learning as I continue to progress on my own journey, it's really recognizing that letting go of things, leaving things behind is critical in our own evolution and our own growth. And even though it may be hard, even though it may feel challenging, even though it may feel like you'll never leave that place or state that you're in when you feel vulnerable and exposed, I've been through enough now to know that there's sunshine on the other end of this. You will pass this, you will get through this. And so the challenge for you is, really right now, like you can pull up the notes app on your phone, pull out a piece of paper, write down what those things are that you are ready to let go of, that no longer serve you, that are prohibiting your transformation. And we all know what this is. You can't tell me you don't know. Like you feel it. It's oftentimes in your face. It's just the act of actually committing to taking action. You can do this. All right, friend, that is all the time I have with you today. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed this, please do share it with a friend. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe below. You can also leave the show a review on Spotify, Apple, and or wherever you listen to your podcast. I will see you very soon, and please do continue to take very good care of yourself. Peace.